Israel's a small country. We're less than a third of the size of Scotland. So our carbon footprint may be small, but our impact on climate change can be mighty. Israel can become the climate innovation nation, and we're ready to pave the way.
I'm very excited about Israel's opportunity to become impact nation as well as startup nation. Israel brings unique qualities to achieving this. Its technological innovation, its entrepreneurial nature, and its unique dimension of tikkun olam. Already, some of Israel's impact ventures, like Orcam, are becoming global role models. Companies capable of becoming impact unicorns that aren't just worth $1 billion, but improve the lives of 1 billion people or more.
If we intend to fight climate change, the best way to do this is by using technology solutions. I strongly believe in the force of technology to address our global challenges and the force of venture capital funds in supporting them. As a leading VC in Israel, it's our role to support the creation and scale of technology for impact that will result in a fairer society and a safer planet. Please join us in this important mission.
The question of what's so special about Israeli innovation has been asked for decades now, and there is no one answer to it. It's the technology, it's the military service, it's the chutzpah, it's the fact that we don't have a local market here, so all the startups are developed for international markets from day one. Israeli entrepreneurs are fearless visionaries. They set impossible goals, and then they draw a line from here to the impossible goal, and they start running as fast as they can on that line.
So, thank you very much. I think it's always interesting to start a presentation by showing. And I think that this video really depicts and showcases what is Israel's value proposition to the global impact movement. So you saw in the video, of course, our Prime Minister and of course the leader of this, the global leader of this movement, Sir Ronald Cohen, but also two investors that speak about the importance of impact investing, but also speak about the importance of developing solutions with a global scale. So I'm Vannesa Kacherginsky. I am the CEO of the Israeli Forum for Impact Economy and the Israeli NAV to the GSG. The IFIE convenes, catalyzes, and connects the Israeli impact ecosystem. We strive to accelerate an impact economy that will deliver social, environmental, and economic value and produce sustainable economic growth. We have developed a 5-pillar strategy for this purpose. The first pillar is policy. So how do we engage with policymakers to increase capital allocated to impact investments and to increase the development of solutions, technological and not technological. The second pillar is the supply of capital. So how do we work in increasing impact investments of all kinds, working with institutional investors, VCs, angel investors, and philanthropy. Working on the demand for capital. How do we work with the industry to start measuring ESG, with the tech ecosystem to start developing innovative and technological solutions to global problems? And how do we work with the third section, NGOs, to develop sustainable business models to their operation so that they will sustain themselves without being dependent on philanthropy and grants. Our third pillar is focusing on awareness raising, which is, I'm guessing, the struggle of all of the people sharing the stage with me today. So mainstreaming impact investing, mainstreaming policy, mainstreaming impact technology and innovation, so that 5-10 years from now we won't have to call it an impact something. It will just be investments, technology, and policy that is here to serve the greater good. And last but not least is impact management and measurement. How do we bring to Israel the advanced tools that exist out there to manage and measure the impact? Because I'm echoing here what Cliff said before me. Much like a company or an investor will not say, I am a successful investor, a successful company, my revenues are high, without backing it with reports. The same thing with impact. You cannot just claim that you're doing good. You should measure it and present it in a coherent and cohesive way. And I think that really the impact management and measurement, the impact weighted account initiative led by the GSG and the Harvard Business School is a tool that we are all holding our breath to be developed and to utilize, hopefully in the near future. So obviously our strong value proposition to the global ecosystem here in Israel is innovation and technology. One of the main focuses is, as you saw in the video, to pivot from being the startup nation to impact nation, meaning to enable the establishment of an SDG-driven innovation ecosystem across Israel and with collaboration with GSG countries. So a little bit of numbers. The high-tech sector represents about 15% of Israel's GDP, 45% of all export, and some 24% of income tax from salaried employees. VC investment in Israeli tech companies crossed the 18 billion mark for 2021 so far. We have over 6,600 startups in Israel, 536 R&D centers of multinational corporations that represent 35 countries. Unicorns. So we have 70 unicorns so far, each estimated over $1 billion. We're fourth worldwide in establishing unicorns after Europe, China, and the UK. An interesting number that is relevant to our movement: out of the 6,600 startups existing in Israel, Startup Nation Central, in their finder, they have examined 2,500 startups that had the potential to answer an SDG challenge. And out of these 2,500, they found that 1,200 startups are actually answering an SDG challenge with or without their knowledge. So what we did at the IFIE in consultancy with our ecosystem, we wrote a white paper that is looking at innovation, technology, and impact. And the purpose is to gain new perspectives and understanding of the needs and opportunities of impact innovation and the impact economy to benefit the people and the planet. Following this paper, we are in the process of creating the SDG-driven innovation ecosystem locally and hopefully jointly with GSG and other NABs in this network. We are developing a cross-sector collaboration between the private, public, academic, and social sector to establish interconnected and sustainable ecosystem by facilitating knowledge exchange, creating new collaboration and engagement opportunities, and delivering new research and data. And on basis of this research and data, we will know what kind of solutions do we need, right? Innovation should not be restricted just to tech only, but also innovation in financial tools. For instance, the example of Social Finance Israel, first SIB to raise capital via crowdfunding, is a perfect example. Social impact bond to reduce the loneliness of the elderly resident of the Tel Aviv region. By raising capital via crowdfunding, Social Finance Israel strengthened the ecosystem of impact investment. Israeli household investor had access to impact investments to date, are giving the opportunity to invest in a social cause. So the result of this crowdfunding campaign, 230 new impact investors, 124 of them invested between 500 to 1,000 shekels, 78 between 1,000 to 5,000 shekels, creating, this led to a creation of an impact community. We got a lot of global media coverage. We had really a proof of concept to crowdfunding methodologies to serve this movement. It's a moderate cost to launch this operation, and we also spread the word about impact investment as a tool. So, as I said, innovation should not just come in the shape of technology, but also in financial models. I believe that the strong ecosystem needs the strong participation of policymakers. We are making strong efforts, and again, following the lead of the GSG and all of their efforts with the G7, but not only that, looking at different ecosystems and their achievements like Finland, France, Canada, UK, of course, and Australia, to learn from their engagement with policymakers to advance our movement. And I was asked to talk about a success and also a lesson. So I must say that a success that we've managed during 2020, which you can all assume and imagine how hard of a year it was due to COVID, economic-wise. So we managed to release 3 million shekels from the government to induce the ESG reporting of big corporates in Israel. So this is a small change, but it at least puts the ESG investment on the table and on the discourse in a more significant way. And I think that by doing small moves like this, we are, again, mainstreaming impact investing and responsible investments. I think that the challenge is to create these engagements in a sustainable and long-term way. And we need to do it in 2 layers. We need to choose the champions and the leaders, the ministers, but we need to also work with policymakers on the clerk level. In Israel, these are the people that are here to stay on the long term. And if you're starting to introduce complex financial tools and measurement methodologies, they are the ones that could actually implement it. So this is maybe a lesson learned or maybe a challenge that we're facing here in Israel, but we definitely managed to gather the ecosystems and the different entity that has interest in working with the policymakers to work as one. And I think that this is the strongest value proposition that we have as an ecosystem builder, and I'm sure that the TIIA is doing the same, is to work as one voice when we approach the government, so that we don't mix them with different tools or different messages, and we present and bring to the table the right numbers to persuade them and that this is the way to go, and this is the right strategy essentially to deliver a just recovery for the people and the planet. Unless you have questions, that's me.
Great, thank you.